Yeah, I remember now. Okay, so if anyone who studies the Bronze Age pretty regularly will come across what's called a dark age, or a period where it's believed, at least the impression is given with the evidence we have, and have been that there was some kind of catastrophe that beset the Near East, around 1200 BC, which marks the end of the Bronze Age. Afterwards, we're in the Iron Age. And it's possible that this is a result of just a lack of information or whatever. But there seems to be a clear drop in urbanization. Most of the major states failed. Egypt didn't, but the Minoans did, the Hittites did, the Mycenaeans did, the Mitanni before that, the first Babylonian and the first Assyrian Empire, both, Elamite Kingdom. Although later most of these places were replaced by successor states. The only state in the Bronze Age that went through this was the Egyptian one, and even the Egyptian one broke off into 2 or 3 states. They were ruled by foreigners for a while. Upper and Lower Egypt weren't united for a long time. Anyway, people have speculated for a really long time as to what caused this, and there have been a number of possibilities. A lot of people say Etna erupting, although I don't think the time not Etna, Santorini erupting, although I don't think that the time lines up. Others, crop failure, climate change, whatever. Now, I would suggest that I actually believe that the states in these societies very likely may have killed them. States, by the way, do kill society sometimes. We have many examples. The most recent and obvious ones are the communist states, which almost annihilated their societies. I mean, the 20th century is the lost century for the Russians. They have no poets or writers, or very few, when you compare that to what they had before. It's almost like a dark age. And it actually happened in Russia before. The Tsars did the same thing. They had taxes that were so high, all the serfs left, and then they ended up with no taxes, and the state almost collapsed in the time of the Troubles, and after the reign of Ivan the Terrible and the time of Troubles. And this is a theme that happens quite a bit, and it's not. I've never seen it systematically studied. Although when it happens, people are frank about it. They'll say, "Hey, the state, all these taxes and all this serfdom or whatever are driving the people away," and the lifestyle and the ideology of the monarchs in the late Bronze Age. I mean, these people. No politicians today, they rival anybody in terms of arrogance. Now their reach did not go as far as, or their graph did not extend as far as their reach. But as far as they saw it, they were gods. At least that's how they talked, and that's how they portrayed themselves. And everything happened, all blessings flowed from them. And they used their states for their own personal aggrandizement rather explicitly. Classic example, the pyramids. Those were just tombs for pharaohs. They served no other purpose other than their egos. And that's only, all of them had palaces, extensive palaces, opulent palaces. Many, very often they controlled the trade, and the whole point of the trade was to import luxury goods for them, such as lapis lazuli, or lapis lazuli, gold, silver, ebony, ivory, whatever. And then they levy taxes, and of course their favorite thing to do is to go to war, because then they get glory and prestige. Of course that costs even more than a big palace or a navy, and so they taxed their people, they enslaved their people, and there was a widespread phenomenon of people leaving areas under government control. And these fugitives from government control were called the Habiru. And when the king of Egypt would write a letter to the king of Babylon or Assyria or Hattusa, he would say, "I need my Habiru back." And they would all say this to each other. We need to go and get these people. They're escaping not our tyranny, but our protection, I guess. They're escaping our protection. We need to bring them back, force them into our loving arms. And I would contest that this phenomenon very likely precipitated the downfall, because eventually, I'm not saying this would be the only reason, but I think it's part of it. And actually, one of the theories I've actually seen is that the quote-unquote sea people caused the downfall of these kingdoms. Now, the sea people, it's kind of, some people say they're the Philistines, but there's a lot of speculation as to who they were. But a lot of people do actually think that they are disaffected, not citizenry, because they didn't have citizens, but subjects of these countries, of these Bronze Age kingdoms, who fled to new areas, set up their own societies, and then started attacking, you know, the more established states. And these states, you know, they take all this credit, but when it comes right down to it, they can't deliver the goods. When you're getting attacked by an aggressor, the chances that your state's actually going to be able to protect you are 0 to none, and that's never their first priority. You know, the pharaoh will have his getaway barge and his private bodyguard of charioteers and a fortress or whatever, but he's not going to lift a finger to save your village when it gets razed to the ground. Not unless he thinks he can do it easy and not have to worry about any backlash or anything. And so, I do actually think that the aggrandizement of these states contributed to the downfall of the societies into the Dark Age, where they broke down. And of course, when the states broke down, then you get a little breathing space again. And then, unfortunately, new states tend to grow up, at least in some places, but not everywhere. And that's the thing. It's the other thing with historians is they're very focused on states, and the reason for that is that states like to write things in stone. And the thing is lots of people were writing and doing literate things, but it's dumb to write stuff in stone because it's going to last longer than your lifetime, and it's super labor intensive. It is by sheer coincidence and by dumb luck that this opulence practiced by these monarchs basically meant that our history is their history. Because nobody, I mean, it's not entirely true, because we actually do have a lot of clay tablets, and I mean, the first writing we have is not kings writing to each other; it's people talking about debts of barley, or you know, that sort of thing. If we go to Babylon, we have a lot of information about how much the interest rate was, which, by the way, it was like 30%. And usually the loans were made in barley or lead. This is before like silver and gold were coins for sure, and even before they were currency, at least in most places save Lydia. So the fact that the state was able to tax so much money and have all this wealth allowed them to build monuments to themselves, you know, like Memorial Day. Like the government gave itself a monument in Washington. And so in a million years, you know, or I'm sorry, a few thousand years, someone might, well, look at the Washington Monument and go, hey, look, all civilization sprung forth from hither, when, in fact, you know, it's just a tiny parasite on a greater society. So, that's it for now.